I first met Tom when I was 15 years old, and we were at the provincial volleyball championships for juniors, and we were in Nelson, BC, and our team actually played them in the finals, and they thumped us pretty good. And Tom was the backbone and the captain of their team. He was an amazing leader, great athlete, and he caught my attention in a big way, and followed him over the years, and just been blown away by his athletic capabilities, his leadership, and ultimately the accomplishments that he's had throughout his entire journey.
I met Tom in probably November or December sometime in 1973, and we were at a provincial team camp, the initial provincial team camp in the lead up to Canada Games in 1975. So it's in Mission, and Vic Lindell and Al Scott had divvied the team up into 4 groups of 40 players. There were 160 guys there. And so there was a top group, there was a second group, a third group, and a fourth group. And Tom was in the top group. And but in my estimation, there wasn't a better player in the top 40 than Tom Jones at that time. So that was my first look at him. And the skill set was broad, and it was developed, and he had it all. And that was my first inkling that maybe there really weren't very many volleyball players that were better than Tom Jones.
He had always played as a hitter, like at UBC prior to that. And all of a sudden he was a setter. And it was quite amazing actually how well he was suited to that role and took it on right away. He became one of the most tactical, strategic setters I've ever played with.
Well, I think the camaraderie. Tom is the consummate teammate, and he added in no uncertain terms to the personality of our team and just its presence and its ability to play in games and from the standpoint of confidence. I think he was never ever the guy that would say, "Come on, we can't win playing like this," and reverberate the gym with the volume. He was more the type of guy that would look at you with 75% encouragement and 25% impatience. So sort of, what would you call that? Exhortation, I guess. And he'd change your behavior as a player on the court.
Yeah, I just think there's no question about it, what his contribution to Volleyball Canada has been. Basically elevating the Canadian national team from 20th in the world when I was playing to, top 4 or 5, well, 4th in LA, and lots of other great results that they've had.
He made the national team, I think, in 1977. And one of the first things our coach did at that national camp was run a one-on-one tournament with the players, the new players, the established players that had been around for a while. And Tom won it as a guy who'd been on the team for about a month. So he beat Garth Pischke, who was considered one of the top 10 volleyball players in the world at the time, in the semifinal, one-on-one. And then he beat me in the final. And we'd been around for a little while. We thought we had pretty good skill sets, and Tom just schooled us.
Yeah, I do remember that, though. It was quite amazing because all these established players were at that point wondering, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here?
And ultimately ran into Tom through the sport of volleyball in whether it was UBC or in many other places in leadership, and helping to develop and even bring the bid for the women's national team into Richmond, BC. And so I just really, every time I meet him and connect with him, I just can't wait till our conversation unfolds. He's got a great intellect. He's got good wit. He's a passionate and compassionate human being, and I feel really grateful that I've been able to become a friend, and so proud of him at this moment in time.
So I think from a volleyball history point of view, from a skill standpoint, from a metric standpoint, what he's accomplished, and also from a leadership standpoint, the case can be made that this is Tom's one of a handful of the very best players we've had in Canadian volleyball history. First of all, I'd just like to offer him congratulations, Tom, on going in as an individual athlete. You deserve it.
Way to go, Hammer. Welcome. Long overdue, and you deserve every congratulation in the world.
Congratulations, Tom, and once again being inducted into the BC Volleyball Hall of Fame as an athlete, which obviously is so justly deserved. And you've had an incredible athletic career. I'm super proud of you. Well done, my friend.
Wow. Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for that warm welcome, Emma, Adormi, and Jerry. It's a real privilege to be with all of you tonight. I have to say, Rick, Greg, and Tom, I'm not really sure what to say, actually. I saw the video yesterday, and seeing it again just now, I'm really touched by those images and by your kind words, and I've respected and admired you guys for an awful long time. So I just want to say thank you. My shorts in those videos, though, sorry everyone, I guess those were the days. But tonight is different. Normally at a Hall of Fame banquet, we'd be all tucking into the beef brisket about now. But we're together tonight in spirit, and I'm very, very grateful to Volleyball BC for this evening. I want to begin by congratulating my fellow Hall of Fame inductees, Betty Baxter, Don Smith, Barb and Dennis Murdoch, and that great BCO team of 1977 and 78. It is really an honor to join you and many of the icons of volleyball that I've always looked up to. And I can't wait to hear your stories in the weeks to come. I'd also like to thank very sincerely the Hall of Fame committee, the selection committee, and the folks involved in my nomination. It really does mean a lot to me that you took the time to write letters of support. And you know, it's really fitting that my friend Jerry Story is involved in this ceremony, because people from Revelstoke have been important in my life, as rivals, as teammates, and as friends. And in particular, I want to thank Mike Rockwell tonight, who nominated me for this incredible honor. Mike is from Mission 2, and he likely doesn't realize the influence that he had on me and on many others in my hometown. Mike was an idol to me, and in his own Hall of Fame speech years ago, he jokingly said that his memory is not great. But Mike, I remember just how good a player and an official and a coach that you were. I remember how you treated people, how you gave back to our sport, and your encouragement to others. And sometimes your honest observations. Like at my first UBC alumni game, years after I'd retired from playing and not having touched a ball in some time. Mike was the head official for that game. And during a rally, I went up to save a ball, and I thought I made a pretty good set. It felt clean coming out of my hands, it felt fine. But Rocky called me for ball handling. So I went up to him and I said, Mike, nobody calls me for that. What's going on? And Mike said, yeah, but you're not as good as you used to be, Jones. It happens. With that little smile that we all know, and I realized, you know, he's probably right. It was honest, it was direct, it was gently delivered, but Mike, you're probably right. In fact, Mike was right more often than not. Would tell me, you know, his Vancouver Volleyball Club team would beat our UBC team, or he'd tell me, you know, that I really should become a setter. And I said, yeah, right. Well, it turned out he was right on both counts. And, you know, throughout my volleyball career, I have received a lot of support, advice, and encouragement. And tonight gives me the chance to thank people, to share some moments that were important to me, and recognize the opportunities that I've been given. So, what's a kid from Mission, a small town in Mission, doing up here? Well, I grew up playing a lot of sports in Mission, but volleyball in Mission was really the thing. And as a kid, I watched amazing players like Mike and my brother Hugh in the era of that great coach, Murray Harris. And over the years, Mission was in 12 provincial finals, winning 7 of them, which wasn't bad. In 1967, Mission hosted the provincial championships. Family billeted about half the starting 6 of the Revelstoke team, the team that they'd meet in the finals. People like Morris Hewlett, Mike Cummings, Ken Olenek. You'll probably remember all those people, those of you that know high school volleyball from back in the day. I still remember just how much they ate. And I was 11 years old, and that was my first exposure to really good volleyball. Revelstoke lost to Mission that year, but they went on to win the next 7 provincial titles in a row under that Hall of Fame coach, John Campbell. And I know that because my own high school team would lose to them in year 6 of that 7-year run. Anyway, being from Mission, I was naturally drawn to volleyball, and I wasn't alone. I had teammates like Mark Stevens, Dick Rustbold, John Berrigan, Mike Hamilton. We all shared a love of the game. We played before school, we played at noon hour, we played after school, we played anytime, weekends. We just couldn't get enough. We had trips around BC in Coach Selby's yellow van, and we went to Hawaii once, and all of that really opened our eyes and molded us into a pretty good team. That was my first real volleyball team experience, and it was great. And I just want to say how much I appreciate those guys tonight. So it was my very good fortune to be raised in a volleyball culture and have strong examples all around me. But I also had a lot of luck, particularly with timing. I came up in what I believe was the golden age of volleyball development in BC. With the Winfield camp led by the visionary Vic Lindell, with foreign and really the top Canadian coaches. We had outstanding club programs like volleyball, the Vancouver Volleyball Club, people like Rocky, like Dale Oman, Ken Witzke, Bob Bosberg. And we had the Kelownas and the Chimos Club with Betty Baxter, Andre Vandervelde, and Helen Hunt, and June Wilms. And we also had the chance to see international matches at UBC's War Memorial Gym. I'll never forget watching Canada versus Cuba, Japan, to watch Greg Russell, Larry Plennert, Garth Pischke, and our own Tom Graham. How could you not be excited about that? BC in those days was really on the forefront of change in volleyball at that time. And the BC provincial team, created and led by Vic and coached by Al Scott. I was just so lucky to be part of that program and to have a coach who pushed us and taught us discipline, teamwork, and belief. So a big shout out to Vic and to Al tonight, my teammates from that team. Those men's and women's teams went on to win gold at Canada Games, and they were recognized by the Hall of Fame last year. And I just want to say again, thank you to Gary Warner, who spoke so well on behalf of our team that night. It was really a special night. Then as a UBC Thunderbird, I was again very fortunate this time to have terrific teammates and just wonderful mentors like Tim Frick. Tim is a Paralympic legend and probably one of the funniest guys I know. Merv Mosher, coach of the women's national team and coach of York University. And of course, Keith Gallicano, one of this country's best ever setters. And it was a real role model for me. He taught me a lot. Things like soaking and scrubbing your hands before matches to improve the touch on the ball. Like who does that? Well, a really good setter does that. And I will not forget that Keith took the time to talk to me about coming to UBC. And we've had just a fantastic friendship ever since. So Keith, thank you so much for that. Then I was at UBC when along came a gifted and ambitious young coach named Lorne Sewula with his newly minted PhD. Lorne was Kerry McDonald before Kerry McDonald. Bright, innovative. He took us to a championship in his very first year, just like Kerry McDonald did some 25 years later. Kerry's another Revelstoke guy. Who'd have thunk it, eh? Lorne taught us about a lot of stuff, about tactical effort, about training methods, about game plans. And because Lorne was a setter himself, I got to sit around and listen to conversations that he and Keith had about that position and just to soak it all in. And sometimes Lorne was really good with me and just telling me the truth. Like after a time we played against a Brazilian club team and I did not have a very good game. It was a subpar performance. And he took me aside and he said, look, if you want to be really good, you need to go all out all the time in competition and training, because natural ability is just not enough. And there are no shortcuts to high performance. He was right. Lorne, I've been absolutely blessed to have you around during my entire national team career, observing and scouting and mentoring. And I just want to thank you for your wisdom and for your friendship. We had a terrific team at UBC. We also had the opportunity to compete at big tournaments like the Pacific Rim Tournament and the UVic International. We played against players, the great Brazilian setter Bebeto. This was a guy who was able to think on his feet, was able to lead teams in ways I'd never seen before. It really turned me to start thinking about the setting position. And of course, in those days, we also benefited from the Japanese volleyball system that was really impacting Canadian and BC volleyball. So it was about timing. I came up, I guess, at the right time. But if traveling and strong competition beat eyes up a little bit, the national team experience was a rude awakening for me. I tried out for the team as a hitter and went out to Winnipeg with my friends Al Kostyuk and Charles Parkinson. But after a few days in camp, I said to myself, man, you are in way over your head. The size and the ability of other players like Garth and Larry and Al Taylor, Greg Russell, that was beyond me as a hitter. But I could set the ball. So thanks to Coach Bill Neville for seeing and giving me the opportunity. The role of setting really was new to me, but it was very appealing. The chance to be involved in every offensive play, to have an impact on the match, that seemed pretty cool. Learning the skills of decision-making on the fly, reading people, executing under pressure, thinking on your feet, setting priorities was another way to be part of the team and to contribute to its success. And these things that I learned as a setter affected really well to other parts of my life later on. Well, in my early years with the national team, we did not win a lot of matches. Most of the 76 team had retired by that time, and we newbies sat and watched many semifinal and final matches at major games tournaments, dreaming about being in those games, but realizing also the gap between our programs and the rest of the world and how wide that was. Because back in 1978, we finished 20th of 24 teams. But we watched and we learned a lot, which is what losing does. It shows you what you need to improve. It makes you reset, and it drives you to get better, and it lights that fire. So with new coach Ken Maeda, no team worked harder than us to build basic skills and techniques and to put in those reps. We definitely had talent, and we showed glimpses of potential, but we were a long way from performing the way we wanted. The paradigm back then was for players to play one 4-year cycle and then move on onto real life, which was getting jobs and having family and moving on. But to compete with the world, that paradigm had to change. And in 1980, we thought, why not us? Let's stick around another cycle, control what we can, and just see how far we can go. You know, they say that success is to move from one failure to another without the loss of enthusiasm. Well, we certainly were enthusiastic. And what we could control was our work rate, our desire to learn, and our will to never give up. How many times did I hear that from our coaches, particularly from our coach, Ken Maeda? Never give up. So we practiced 6 hours a day, sometimes 8 hours a day for 6 days of the week. We trained things like agility, strength, aerobics, gym jump training, volleyball specific training, and constant travel. Why, you might ask? Well, because we had to catch up to the rest of the world. So while this pursuit of excellence was grueling at times, what made the difference for me was how much fun we had and how close a group we became. Over the next 4 years, we beat every top team in the world. We literally checked them off a list, and that was extremely fulfilling. So under the coaching staff of Harrison and Brian Watson, who's going to be inducted with the BCO team, we built on the foundations of the 76 team to develop a uniquely Canadian style. Power and size coupled with good defense and blocking. And in the process of all of that, we forged friendships and bonds in training and competition that would last a lifetime. The bonds of that group are unbreakable. And I think there's a few people from that team on the call. I think it's John and Terry and just want to say a big thanks, guys. I'll never forget it. For me, wearing the maple leaf and representing Canada at the Olympics was a highlight of my career. And though the ultimate prize at the Olympics was not ours, Canadian volleyball players began to see through our experience that Canada could compete with anyone and win. And today our national team programs are among the best in the world. And soon, very soon, I'm sure Canada will break through to win a medal in volleyball. Whether it'll be women, who knows, but we will. I spent another 7 years playing professionally, And I want to thank my friend and teammate Glenn Hogue for the years we played together and the many things that he taught me. Glenn is our current Olympic coach and one of the world's best. You know, I heard a quote the other day, "You'll never be more alive than when you give something everything you have." That was certainly true for me. To have had the opportunity to play the game I love, to travel, to pay some bills, and be around committed, like-minded athletes to see how far we could go, the chance to give it everything we had, I am just really grateful. Now, I'll admit I wasn't the easiest person to coach. I was that guy who always asked, why? And it was probably pretty irritating at times. But like all Canadian athletes, once we understand and commit to a task, there is no looking back. It was clear back then that I had the talent and the ability, but what we needed was the time together, the proper support, competitive experience, and the opportunity to excel. I took this to heart, and I've spent much of my work life advocating for and helping create those opportunities, seeking to improve the support systems for Canadian athletes and enabling people of all ages to benefit from to enjoy the benefits of sport and physical activity. Sport really has been my passion, and it is my passion. And I'm very fortunate that it became my livelihood. Sports brought so much to my life, both career-wise and personally. It brings out the best in people. It reveals who you are, and it's where my most important relationships were formed, including meeting my wife. Our sport of volleyball is indeed the ultimate team game. You do not succeed without others. It was here in BC that I grew up I grew as a young person and as an athlete, with great opportunities and just wonderful examples. And that's why this honor tonight from my home province is so special. These days we talk about our bubbles, those people we trust, we spend time and we feel safe with. I was lucky to have had quite a few volleyball bubbles over my career, groups that lived intense moments together over periods of time. And I've talked about a few of them tonight, and many of you are on this call. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I really wish you well. I'd like to now say some special thanks. First to my parents and my brothers who built the foundation for me, set me on a path, and were always encouraging. To my two children, Christy and Mac, who light up my life and make us so proud. And I want to thank the person who animates and enriches my life every day, my wife, Dory. She's been beside me every step of the way. She's an absolutely amazing athlete in her own right, a Manitoba basketball player who is in probably more Hall of Fames than I am. Dory understands about having passion for sport. She shares it. And it's really her support and her love that has made our adventure through life so wonderful, so full of laughter, so full of fun. And I'm going to break from protocol for 1 second and just show you a picture. You can see that. There she is. She's sneaking up on your screens. It's not showing up great, but that's the girl that has made my life what it is. I love you, Dory, very much. I think I have to say that the best bit of luck I ever had was meeting you. So lastly, to our volleyball community in BC. I've lived outside the province for a lot of years, and I am so pleased to be back home again. Thanks for welcoming me back into the volleyball community. My beach friends, Jim Clive, John Sestavalov, Alex Cerez, Michael Bavitsky, all of you guys have made me feel very much back at home. My UBC family that I'm always so passionate about. And Volleyball BC itself. Ian Gregory and Hugh and Boris and the pioneers of Volleyball BC who kind of mentored me, Dormy and Chris and the board when I was serving there. Chris Densmore, who's become a friend, but is a really gifted leader and a fantastic volleyball person. All those folks who built our game. Just a big thank you for allowing me to contribute back to the sport that I love and that we all love. As I've said, I've received a lot of support during my journey. Maybe it was a kind word, a bit of encouragement, an opportunity, or a bit of advice to build my confidence. And people often don't realize what they have at the time. But these things, these kindnesses and these gestures, they mean a lot. and they just may impact someone's life as powerfully as they did mine. I'm very, very grateful for all the things you've done for me and for what you'll continue to do for others whose stories are still being written. I'm very proud to be part of this community, and I'm very, very thankful for this honor. It means the world to me and to my family. So thank you very much.